Starsky. Oh, we're partners.
You're listening to Steven Strom on TalkNorth.com.
And we welcome you into another edition here of the Strom Sports Show. Happy Sunday, everybody. Hope everyone's having a awesome Mother's Day. Take care of your mother today, okay? Just make sure you get her those flowers, those chocolates, get her that card, because mothers are special. They create you, they cultivate you, they take care of you. So make sure you show some appreciation to your mother today. Take her out to eat, whatever it may be. Make sure you appreciate her on this fine Sunday. All right, TalkNorth.com, Strom Sports Show, episode 48, which is unbelievable. Big thanks to my producer, Brandon Morton, Jim Suhan. If you want to advertise with us on the site, TalkNorth.com, all that good stuff. We're on iTunes, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio. Okay, I do not have any guests today. I tried, nada. Negative Dave, Tried to get a Minnesota Twins beat reporter, nope. Timberwolves, nope. So we are flying solo today. I'm happy to be with you guys today. It's great to have you with us. And I want to get into a couple of things today, not a crazy long show. First of all, we have to get into the Twins because they have just been unbelievable at this point. Talk about a hot start. I think you get to a point now where you say, all right, the Twins are for real. This isn't a fluke. They just swept Toronto. They dominated them. They open up against Detroit today. Recording on a Friday, so they open up against Detroit. You got to take 2 out of 3, and you got to just beat up here on your division foes between the Royals, the Tigers, and the White Sox. This is a team that can win 90 games. I'm serious, 90-plus games. The Twins are that good right now. They're rolling. I always say this, though. A baseball team is never as never as good as they are hot, and never as bad as they are cold. And right now, the Twins are absolutely on fire. So we'll first get into the Twins, then I'm gonna get into Kyle Rudolph and why the Vikings must trade him. You have to trade Kyle Rudolph. I'll tell you why, and then I have a little creative segment for you guys. The all Minnesota given up on team. Okay, all the guys in Minnesota that I've given up on, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys given up on, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so the big question that I want to ponder to you guys is this. Are the Minnesota Twins closer to winning a championship than the Vikings? And don't jump on it, no way, the Twins are having, they're only, 23 and 12, they're having a great start, don't get too crazy, but let's think about this here. Okay, let's just compare the Twins from last year to this year from this point. The Twins are 22 and 12, okay? Last year, they were 15 and 19 through 34 games. The Twins are off to an exceptional start, okay? And you also have to look at the division if you had to compare the two, between the Twins and the Vikings. I just said it. This AL Central is abysmal. The Royals, the White Sox, the Tigers, they play them 51 more times this season. You can win 30-plus games against those teams. You should. And I look at the other teams in the league. Boston looks like they have a World Series hangover. The Yankees have shown some guts. I'll give them that. Without their top guys, it just seems like nothing can ever faze them. They bring up all these new players from their farm system, and they just start producing. So you got to give the Yankees credit there. But they are a hit-and-miss club, and we saw that last year in the playoffs against Boston. When they can't hit home runs, what team are they? They are a home run or strikeout team, and that doesn't win in the postseason. The only team that legitimately scares me, honestly, is the Houston Astros, who they are 4-4 against this year. They went into Houston, they won game 1, and then they ended up dropping the last 2 games. And then when Houston came to Minnesota, they won 2 out of 3. The Twins have a unique balance, a mix of youth and veteran guys. Okay, you look at your Max Keplers, your Byron Buxtons, your Jorge Polanco, your young guys, and then you have a good mix of vets with Marwin Gonzalez, with Nelson Cruz. They have something that works, and it's a different Twins team, and I've said it before because of the lineup depth. 1 to 9, everyone can really hit. And let's look at the farm system. Let's look at the future of the Minnesota Twins, who have the 8th best farm system in the MLB. Let me just name you their best players, and I'm going to tell you how old they are as well, just to show you maybe they are in a better position to win a championship than the Vikings. Jorge Polanco, 25 years old. Byron Buxton, 25 years old. Eddie Rosario, 27 years old. Jose Barreros, 24 years old. Max Kepler, 26 years old. Now, Nelson Cruz is your exception at 38 years old, but this is a team that is filled with youth that can be good for years to come. With the Vikings, we all know what this is. It is a 3-year window with Kirk Cousins, and it's already been a year one fail. Some stats that stick out to me, especially, for the Twins. 241 strikeouts this year. That is the 4th least in the majors. That is like we talk about the Yankees being hit or miss, this is a team that's patient at the plate and is able to make the big hit, get the big hit. They are 7th in runs per game. They are tied for 4th in strikeouts and 11th in team ERA. They have done things that we haven't seen for years with the Minnesota Twins baseball club. Now let's look at the Vikings and let's compare the two. The first question I have is, did the Vikings peak? Was the NFC Championship with Case Keenum the highest they'll ever get? You think about it. The defense is getting older. Mike Zimmer's getting older. Look at the division now. You've got a short window with Kirk Cousins. You've completely handicapped yourself with the salary. The Bears, the Packers, the Lions. Honestly, all 3 teams are capable of making the playoffs, even the Lions. You look at the AL Central. Even the Indians are completely underwhelming. What about Mike Zimmer versus Rocco Baldelli? Mike Zimmer's 62 years old. Rocco Baldelli's 37. That could be Mike Zimmer's kid. Zimmer's getting to the end of its rope. He's had the eye surgeries. He's had to deal with a lot of stuff outside of football. So his time might be coming up as the Vikings head coach. Rocco Baldelli, this is going to be his team for a while. And the biggest knock on Mike Zimmer, he could not beat the great teams. And I know it's different from football to baseball, but I'm just giving you the facts. Rocco Baldelli has taken 2 out of 3 against Houston. He's gone into Toronto and swept the Blue Jays. He's beaten good teams. Mike Zimmer, the biggest knock on him, seems like any time a team is close or above the Vikings, they fold. Eagles, fold. This year, Bears, last game of the year, fold. Seahawks on the road, fold. The Vikings' best players are getting older now. Kirk Cousins is 30. Harrison Smith is 30. Adam Thielen's 28. Here's the bottom line. The Vikings took a complete step back last year as the Twins look like they finally have a well-thought-out plan with a combination of players that finally work, and they fit the system. The Vikings banked on one guy, and that was Kirk Cousins, paying him $94 million guaranteed. Now they're stuck with an $899,000 salary cap, which is by far the last in the league. And the Twins, well, they have the cap space to go get a Dallas Keuchel or a Craig Kimbrell to solidify their pitching. Things can change quick from the NFC Championship to missing the playoffs, and now from a 78-win Twins team to maybe a 90-win team. Who really is the closest team to winning a championship in the 4 professional sports? The Vikings or the Twins? Coming up next, why the Vikings should trade Kyle Rudolph. Now, according to SpotTrack, the whole financial aspect of sports, it's a very good site. You can figure out what your cap space is for your team, how much room they have, who they have signed, all the contracts, all that good stuff. So according to SpotTrack, the Vikings are only going to have about $87,000 in cap space, which is obviously dead last. And they still have to get their rookies under contract, which, let's be honest, that is not a ton of money to work with. The Vikings rank dead last in cap space, despite the fact that they've spent all offseason trying to free up money. They've really tried. Sendeo, Treadwell. It's really, you could see Remmers, they've tried to open up cap space. But when you sign someone to that extent of money in Kirk Cousins, what do you expect? And the Vikings now have a lot to, they still have a lot to kind of figure out, I think. This offseason, I thought the draft was pretty well. I thought they did it pretty well. I have no complaints. Obviously, it's very early. It's hard for me to give a grade draft when you can't even see the guys play yet. But the Vikings still have some holes that I'd like to see them figure out. And they just seem like they don't have the assets right now to either trade, and obviously they don't have the financial aspects to be able to go out and sign a guy. And it's scary as you enter year 2 of the Kirk Cousins era where it's a win-now scenario. And one of the guys, unfortunately, that I think they should move on from is Kyle Rudolph. He has a cap hit of $7.6 million in 2019. He caught 64 balls, 634 yards, 4 touchdowns. Okay. There's times where he just disappears. And I know it's part, he complained that he wasn't part of the game plan. He wanted to be part of the game plan more. I know him and Zimmer went back at it. Through that stretch where he just seems to go invisible. He's a streaky kind of player. His yards after catch is not good. We always joke around that after he catches the ball, he's not going anywhere else. He's a red zone target. And he's got pretty good trade value. He still produces at a fairly impressive rate. Listen, the Vikings have a potential replacement in Irv Smith. And there's a reason why they picked him in the second round. I don't think that they picked Irv Smith to sit behind Kyle Rudolph for a few years. I think he's one of those guys that can come in and produce right away. Love Kyle Rudolph. Love what he does outside of the community. Has nothing to do with him as a person. But I just think if you're the Vikings and you are so handicapped, so handcuffed with this salary cap, you need to make decisions. And I was all in for, getting rid of Everson Griffin, but he's willing to take a pay cut. I know Rudolph has talked about maybe restructuring his contract, but to me, Irv Smith is one of those guys. He's more of a modern-day tight end than Kyle Rudolph. I think Kyle Rudolph's speed, it really hurts him. You look at these other great tight ends, Travis Kelce, Zach Ertz, they have so much more mobility. They're so much more elusive than Kyle Rudolph, and I think that's the way the league is going at this point. It's a vertical tight end league. It's not like, Jimmy Kleinsasser in the 2000s where you can line them up and, on the goal line and play action and, throw a little dinky ball to them. Kyle Rudolph has not seemed like he has gotten any better in his agility. It seems like he kind of hit a plateau. And like I said, Rudolph has one of the best hands in the league. Can't complain there. But when you look at, is he going to make this team great? I think that you have to go with the rookie here in this case, in Irv Smith, and let him get an opportunity because he's more of that modern-day tight end at this point. He's got a lot of speed. You look at his tape at Alabama, he led the country in yards after catch as a tight end, can line up in multiple. He can line up in the slot. He can line up as a tight end, so he's a very versatile guy. What, are we going to put Kyle Rudolph in the slot? So I think for future purposes and to try to get this team to a win now, which they are, I think the next step here is trading Kyle Rudolph. And you have some pretty good value for him. You've heard that the Patriots are interested. You'll probably get fleeced by Belichick, but still, he's got some pretty good trade value. I wouldn't wait any longer to try to deal him. I think this is the offseason to do it. It's unfortunate that that the Vikings are so handcuffed with the cap because in a lot of scenarios, I think if you didn't have Kirk Cousins, if you sticked with Case Keenum, I don't think we're having this discussion, and I don't think the Vikings draft Irv Smith. I don't know how the Vikings want to play it, though, because they might want to wait until training camp. They might want to see how they play against each other because maybe Irv Smith isn't ready, and maybe it's a disaster. But I think that the Vikings' plan here is to wait it out, see how Irv Smith fits, see how he compares to Kyle Rudolph, because some guys aren't ready to step right in, and Kyle Rudolph is a veteran. He's going to find a place, and he's going to be a 6-touchdown guy. He's going to be a red zone threat, but he's not going to be a vertical Travis Kelce, Zach Ertz guy, and that's never been his game. In the beginning of his career, he sort of was that, but it just seemed like he just got progressively slower. Like, you look at his rookie year, and maybe obviously, youth is definitely a factor in age, but he just seemed like he took such a step back after his first 2 years, agility-wise. He just got so slow, and you